I'm not okay. That's just the truth. And I'm scared. I'm really worried for what this month brings. I know I can't keep up this grind of DoorDashing 13 hours a day to make things work. I'm tired, man. Go out from 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. every day, and then again from 8 o'clock to noon, and I'm not sleeping, I'm not eating, I'm not taking care of myself, but life can't stop. But I also don't know how much more I can take. I think that's the part that's scaring me the most right now, is I don't know how much more I can physically take. So fucking tired, man. Just tired. I'm so tired.
This is the American dream that a lot of people were not expecting. America is supposed to be a land of gold, full of milk and honey, a land of freedom where opportunities are met and achieved, yet the citizens are frustrated. It's too expensive living in the USA now. His story is gradually becoming all of our stories. Ain't that the truth? You have some people who don't even understand asking questions like, serious question, why are you using DoorDash as a career? It's meant to do as a side gig for extra cash at best.
And you shut the fuck up! Huh?
The money you make from your 9-to-5 job isn't enough for you to sustain your own lifestyle right now, even if you budget, cut off everything. So you do need to find an extra gig to supplement that. And you're asking this stupid question?
Some people just need a slap.
You think people choose to do DoorDash? You think someone wants to go out of their way to do a 5 to 12 shift after work to do DoorDash?
Bro, and there's just nothing else that you can cut back on, boy. There's no more cutting back on Starbucks, coffees, subscriptions. It's nothing left. I'm out here managing and budgeting using the vending machine. I'm going days where I'm like, bro, I ain't gonna eat for lunch. I'm gonna wait till I get back home. Ain't nothing else left to cut out. It's crazy. I'm making the most money I probably didn't ever make. Ain't no probably. I didn't ever made. Yeah, I don't ever see it. It be gone. The bills be snatching it. I'm not even gonna say we not making enough money. Everything just too high. Ain't no way at 36 an hour, getting close to 40 an hour, you just barely making it. You just be having enough and maybe a couple hundred extra. That's crazy. What is going on?
Americans have reached a breaking point. The cost of living is too expensive and there's nothing left to cut back on. In many areas, a one-bedroom can easily eat $1,800 to $2,500 per month. This is 40% of take-home pay for someone at $40 an hour. And I'm guessing even people who make less than that are probably even paying more than 40% of their wage. And they're barely making by. When you add in everyday expenses like insurance, gas, groceries, and taxes, you're likely to have nothing left making $40 per hour. If this is the situation we're having right now, plus the conflict that's happening in the Middle East, as well as the one that's happening in Ukraine and a few others around the world that are not really been put on the news, things are just going to get a lot harder. Fertilizer prices have gone up, gas prices have gone up, and yet you're still being gaslit to think that this is the greatest economy ever, when yet you can see people are barely making by.
This new report from the New York Fed shows what they call a remarkable rise in food insecurity, especially among those living paycheck to paycheck. And it's especially troubling because it impacts those with young children. Between late 2025 and early 2026, there was a sharp rise in households reporting that they had to skip meals, use food banks, and rely on SNAP benefits or dip into savings to cover their groceries, which are now 2.9% more expensive than a year ago. 10% of households surveyed in February said they didn't have enough food or their kids had to miss meals. That is more than double what we saw in mid-2020. And remember, back then it was the pandemic. What's also clear is that some of the financial pain is masked by the growing wealth in this country, which is brought on by a booming stock market and increasing home values. Those Americans who own stocks and homes, they feel richer and they're spending still, and that's propping up the economy, while millions of Americans are struggling just to afford food after years of inflation and now those rising gas prices too.
I've never eaten more cereal in my life, and I'm a Gen X. Stock price gouging. Corporations are getting tariff refunds, but prices are not coming down. Thank God some people didn't forget about those tariff refunds, because we still have to address that. But you can see the media is kind of sweeping that under the rug with all of these distractions and headlines that they're throwing at us. I'm single and live alone. I had to cut back my grocery spending to $30 a week.
I beg your pardon?
A week? I basically forced myself into a calorie deficit because of how expensive everything is right now. So let me know how much y'all are spending on groceries a week or how much y'all had to cut back on, because this is getting scary. Are we great yet? I make more money than both of my parents combined at my age, and my fiance and I are living paycheck to paycheck. Well, you see, back in your parents' time, they could literally survive with one paycheck alone. And house prices were literally $30 and some stack of hay. But nowadays, you need to give an arm and a leg to even just put the down payment on that house.
Mr. President, your supporters are hurting. People who voted for you 3 times, who would walk over Legos covered in hot coals to vote for you, are broke.
Huh?
Some are skipping meals. Others are buying canned chicken in bulk because that's all they can afford. The cost of food and gas is just so high. People are finding it impossible to pay for their kids' after-school sports once they fill up the car with gas. People who support you and support the war in Iran, who were willing to pay a little more to make sure our grandkids don't have to live with the threat of a nuclear-armed terror state, who were willing to pay a little more for the possibility of reshoring our great manufacturing base with tariffs, well, they've paid all they can. Some are expressing anger and frustration. They feel that they voted for you to bring down the costs. Others are just quietly skipping meals. And contrary to what some in your administration keep saying, it's not just vibes. Inflation is eating up wage growth, and then some. Gas is $4.50 a gallon as we head into the summer travel season. The producer price index is up 6% as we head into grilling season. Savings are at an all-time low. 13% of credit card balances are now over 90 days delinquent, the highest since 2011. You keep saying that the stock market is doing great, and that is true. But the gains of the economy and nearly all consumer spending are concentrated in the top 10%. Everyone else is broke. You keep saying that gas will plummet when Operation Epic Fury is over, and there's a new memorandum of understanding on the table. But even if there is a deal, it will take a lot of time for gas to come down. And in the meantime, the American people need something to get them through the slog. Your supporters need help, Mr. President, and they need it from you. We brought in $200 billion in tariff revenue. Couldn't some of that be shared with Americans struggling to put food on the table?
She has to be a MAGA voter. And yet you're here still asking for stimulus? That's a band-aid solution that you're asking for. But you're not against all of the chaos he's created that's resulted in the economy being like this. We need to talk about the big beautiful bill. That's why the 10% are spending like crazy, because they're getting tax reliefs. Obviously the stimulus would help, I'm not gonna lie, but it'll only be for a short term. That's the same thing we were talking about, how those farmers were asking for a bailout. They got the bailout, but then they were in the same position.
At what point did being alive become a subscription service? Like, you ever notice that everything in America got a damn fee attached to it? Want to pay your rent? Cool. Got to use our app. Oh, and there's also a convenience fee. Convenience for who? Because it sure ain't convenient for you and me. Need music? Subscription. Need TV? Subscription. Need software? Subscription. You need some water delivered? Subscription. Hell, breathing feels like one monthly payment away at this point. And don't even get me started on ownership. You don't own your music. You don't own your movies. And you barely own your house, because if you don't pay property taxes, they're going to come take that from you too. Companies build stuff so cheap now, you can't even fix it. They want you to break it, so you have to buy a new one. In America, you're a product. Every click, every bill, every fee, every subscription, every transaction is designed to squeeze one more penny out of you. And my question is simple to everybody. It really is. Are you tired of winning yet?
I was having this discussion with somebody in the gym, and they were saying, why do you think Americans are accepting like what's going on currently? And I said, I'll be honest with you, man. It's like somebody being in an abusive relationship, right? Most people that are in an abusive relationship, they know that they're in an abusive relationship, but they won't leave. For whatever reason, they'll stay in that abusive relationship. They'll continue to get abused. And I said, if you think about Americans, they're just used to being abused. It is the norm. It is like this long relationship that has always been the norm. It's always been this way. When we see a little change, it's like a person getting better, but then they go back to their old ways. And it's almost like we think like, well, we know what good looks like, but then the bad is really bad. And I think that's the situation we're in right now. We're like, well, we know what good looks like. We know what our top tier looks like. But when it's bad, it's bad. A lot of times when you're in an abusive relationship, you're looking at the highs. But honestly, the cons outweigh the pros. But people don't look at it like that. And I think that's the current state that we are in America right now. Right now, the cons outweigh the pros. But we're just hoping on this high. It's almost like buying a lottery ticket. It's almost like if I hit this, I'll be set. But the chances of you hitting the lottery are slim to none. And that is the best way I can explain this situation. And after I explained it that way, he said, man, I never looked at it from that point of view. I was like, dude, that's what it is. And until we, as a U.S. citizens, break out of this abusive relationship, it'll continue to happen. And that's what it is.
And someone's like, yeah, but if you just sit and make videos and continue to go to work, clearly nothing is going to change. I know what to do, work and tax strikes, but Americans fear their government. But anyway, let me know what your thoughts are about Americans getting exhausted, pretty much burnt out at this point due to the cost of living. Leave your comments down below, especially if you're going through the exact same thing. If it's your first time to the channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Also, if you haven't, make sure you check out this video. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. But nevertheless, I will see you guys when I see you. Peace.